All right.
You can do that.
I'm with Ricardo here, diversesolutions.com, and I'm with, who do you think that is? I'm with Dale Chumbley and Maura Neill. So now the two of you have sort of gone in a campaign over the last year. You started what was called 365 Things to Do in your hometown.
Correct.
Why don't you each tell me a little bit about your session today was 365 Things Not to Do.
Right.
Right?
Yes.
You guys accomplished quite a feat, in my opinion. You finished an entire year of posting consistent content, building your community. Why don't you guys tell me a little bit about how you started your venture, where the idea came, and
Well, I can say that I got the idea from Brian Copeland, who sent me an email basically saying, hey, I think this is something you should try in Atlanta. And so without putting any thought into the amount of work it's going to take, or that it would end up consuming my life for a year plus now, I just started it that night. I bought the domain name, I got the Twitter handle, I started the Facebook page, and I wrote my first post, and it just kind of went from there.
And for me, I started actually the same day as Maura, but for me the thought process actually had started a year in advance, because I was wanting to create content for my community, because I continued to have people wanting to know the great parks, the great restaurants, the things to do as they were looking to buy or sell real estate in Vancouver.
because you're not just selling real estate, you're selling a lifestyle.
Because you're selling a lifestyle, you're selling the community, and that's the thing that people always wanted to know about, is they were always asking about all these other things besides the house. They only talked about the house when we were in those, and then as we traveled to all the other places, they talked about everything else. So for me, it was over a year of trying to figure out how I wanted to do this, and I actually am part of the same group where I got the same exact email that Maura did. That was, for me, that light bulb moment where I went, this is what I've been trying to build for the last year that I wasn't able to put legs to and actually run with it. And same thing, I started it, and I already had the idea in place for me and what I was going to do, and I just did that based upon what I've been working on.
So there was this sort of light bulb moment for both of you. You wanted to create content. This was a good medium to do it, Facebook being as large as it is. During your session, you mentioned, Maura, you had started your, you had a WordPress.com blog. Mm-hmm. You started your content on Facebook first.
No. I started it on my WordPress.com blog, and I had a Facebook page that I would post each day's link to.
Okay, but you both mentioned sort of the importance of having your website as your hub, not necessarily the Facebook page as the hub.
Facebook is a beautiful way to share the content to a larger audience.
But they're also evil.
That's one way to put it.
Well, Facebook owns that content, and they have the ability to pull that plug. And
Very
so
true.
for us, we wanted to own that content. And that's why for us, the WordPress blog site was the best way to do that. We had ultimate control. I started right from the beginning with the WordPress.org fully hosted site. Maura started on .com, and then when she was being limited by the amount of things she could do, she then made that transition over to a fully hosted site. But we always maintain the photos, the videos, the content on our actual site.
On my own site.
Right.
On our own sites that we have control over.
Because I did lose a Facebook page. My first page at about 3 weeks in. They flagged it for suspicious content. I could never get an answer from anyone, even through a friend who has real estate clients who work for Facebook.
Wow.
She even, put in a word for me trying to get help, and I couldn't. I lost a page with 12,000 fans and had to start from scratch. And it's hard to recreate that initial reaction to what you're doing. So the people that I know that have started similar, 365 or similar sites but they're doing it all on Facebook using like Facebook notes and Facebook photo albums and stuff. I just think it's just the danger of Facebook taking it all away on a whim is so real, since it happened to me.
Right.
That, I mean, it didn't even happen to me. I still had my content, but just the fact that I lost that page. Right.
Yeah.
Which brings me to my closing point, comments. If you had one takeaway to give to people who are, trying to build buzz, talk about their community, build their own communities, what's that takeaway for you today for the conference that you would recommend?
It's to not do a 365 site. And I don't say that in a non-compete idea, with the idea that we don't want them to compete with us. But really, the amount of time that we put into it, we spent a lot of time in the session talking about this today. It's a time suck. It literally takes over your life, especially since we go to all of the places. We physically go to all the places and events that we write about.
Not only that, you do video,
we do
photos.
We do photos. So it's the time involved. It's not just regurgitating press releases that you may get from PR companies. So I say find a hobby or a part of your community that you're passionate about, or a group that you belong to or wish to belong to, and start a site that focuses on those things. And Dale said earlier, posting new content 3 to 4 times a week, and that's so much more doable for the average person. And I'm totally putting myself as the average person. It took over my life. So I've gotten to the point now where I'm posting 4 or 5 times a week, and I don't feel guilty about it anymore because I got to number 365, and I felt like I did my I feel like I got there and I did it and I followed through. And now, because it does have credibility that I built up over that year, I can do less posting and have. And I think it'll lead to higher quality material. I mean, I like my material anyway, but I think it gives me more time to put more thought into each one.
Right.
And not to feel desperate.
Biggest takeaway for you, Dale?
I'm going to agree with the same thing, is to figure out what your community is. Determine that. It doesn't have to have a number in front of it. I told everybody in the room today, people don't go Googling numbers in your community. They don't look for 365, they don't look for 101, they don't look for 52.
They just look for the content.
They look for, where do I take my kids to get a haircut?
Yeah.
Where do I go bowling? What's a good park in this neighborhood?
Who has the best pizza?
Who has the best
burgers?
Yeah, all of those things. And so that's the kind of stuff that you can create and then be putting that out there on a WordPress platform. Own that content, and then use Facebook as a simple way to share it. Use Twitter as a way to share. Those are spokes in the wheel pointing back to the hub.
Right.
Awesome.
And I think the most important one, at least for me, has been Twitter, because you really get to engage with your community, and in a way that you really can't even do on the blog. 15 or 20 people might engage with you when you post to Twitter a link or a topic or a question about a restaurant, whereas maybe only 2 or 3 people will comment on that particular day on that particular post. So it's a really great.
See, and I got a lot of comment. I got more engagement on my Facebook. Twitter for me, I didn't work it as hard though. I didn't create that, because for me it was really the blog and then the Facebook, and I had great. Vancouver, thank you very much. You guys are awesome. They engaged wonderfully. Yes.
Speaking of which, where can we find you guys online?
365atlanta.com or at 365 on Twitter.
And you?
And I am at Dale Chumbley on Twitter, and my blog is clarkcountyrealestateguide.com.
Awesome. Thanks, guys.
Thanks, Ricardo.